What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Found Bytes, a game review series. My name is Brian, and I'll be your host. If you don't know about us, we're all about finding and testing out small, high-quality video games. This is a podcast that aims to respect your time and money as a gamer and a consumer by sifting through storefronts and sales to find those gems that may be worth your precious resources. But enough about the show. Let's get into our next game. Door Kickers Action Squad is the game for this week's episode. Door Kickers Action Squad is a, quote, crazy old-school side-scroller action game. And I would constitute it as a SWAT sim. And it was developed and published by Kill House Games and released in 2018. The game is available on PC, PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and mobile. And if I had to describe the game, I would say it has serious vibes of Hotline Miami and Katana Zero, as well as a mix of like Chroma Squad with a little bit of like a spoof kind of satirical thing. It really predicates off of like 80s cop vibe, especially with the music, which we'll talk about. But it's super pixelated, and it has these mini sandbox levels or encounters, and it kind of has an arcadey feel in that respect. So it's kind of like Hotline Miami or Katana Zero without like the linear story connecting. There's a lot of like saving hostages in these levels, similar to like Resogun, and you'll be unlocking different classes, similar to Into the Breach. Once you unlock different classes, you can kind of go through the same levels or go through extra levels using the new classes, and you're going to be upgrading them with currency and skills that you use, as well as just unlocking a ton of levels and extra modes, extra content. It really has a lot to it. The game released with an MSRP of $14.99 on consoles. I think $13.99 on Steam. That's what I saw. I don't know why that would be a $1 price difference. But the mobile versions, I think I saw on Google Play Store for like $3, so it's probably a little different, I would assume. And then runtime, games like this are tough. HowLongToBeat.com says 10 hours to go through all the main levels. I don't know if that's as one character or all the characters, but this is definitely going to be a pop it and play sort of like endless thing, as well as with the extra modes that you can kind of play endlessly. And there was a physical release of this game through Strictly Limited Games, and I think they're like a physical European company, and they released it on PS4 and Switch, and they did a standard edition just with the box, and then the Crime Fighter edition that had a bunch of extra goodies in there. And on the site, it was priced for €30 and €50 respectively, but on their site, it's sold out. You could probably check it out on eBay. Me, I got this for PS4 for $1.50 on sale. So that was like 90% off. And I've put in probably close to 5 hours. I think I've unlocked most of the characters, and I'm playing through a lot of the levels, switching between them. There's a lot of versatility that you can do there, so I'm really just kind of going at it. I am doing the levels in order. I don't think you need to, but I'm just kind of chugging through. It's definitely something that I'm just picking up and playing, not really like focusing all my attention on. And like we said, this was developed by Kill House Games. This is a small team out of Romania. I don't think we've seen a game that had a developer out of Romania, but this is kind of an offshoot of their main series, which is just Door Kickers. So they had Door Kickers and Door Kickers 2. Those games seem to have more, especially visually, like a more serious vibe. And I think they're tactical and they're top down. It looks a lot more realistic. This is definitely like the same concept, I think. Obviously, like you're the SWAT team, but there's definitely more of a humorous vibe, especially with the heavy pixelation. So it's kind of like a change of pace for them. And I had not heard anything about this game, just saw it on sale, was down for the style and the humor and the 80s vibe. So I just pulled the trigger at $1.50 and gave it a shot. All right, let's talk gameplay for Door Kickers Action Squad. So we've vaguely described the game, but I would say it's kind of a non-linear arcade mission-based game where you have these self-contained levels and there's not really a connection between them, but you do have a way of progressing through. So let's just talk general progression of how the game works, sort of from a main menu and whatnot standpoint. So there are a couple modes when you boot up the game. There's unlimited mode, there's classic mode, and there's zombie mode. I would say the main mode is classic mode. That's where you're actually playing through the different levels and looking at your different classes, unlocking things, leveling things up, upgrading things. I think the unlimited mode is just like a see how far you can get. And then the zombie mode, I actually haven't tried it, but it seems like it's just that you're playing through classic mode levels, but then zombies are also coming in. So it seems like it would be kind of absurd, but pretty silly. And in the classic mode, it's split into chapters, and each of these chapters is going to have 12 different levels in them. Now, the way that this works is you'll be unlocking chapters just by completing levels. But what's really nice is that you don't need to complete all the levels. You don't necessarily need to complete them in order. I think it's something like the first chapter is obviously open when you start the game, and you need to beat, I think, like 8 levels to unlock the second chapter, 12 to unlock the third, 16 to unlock the fourth. So because there's 12 levels in each of them, you don't need to do all the levels. It's just about overall beating 8 levels or 12 levels throughout all the levels that you have access to. And of course, as you unlock new chapters, you'll see maybe some new mechanics, some new enemies, eventually some higher level challenges. And so having access to a bunch of different levels in a bunch of different chapters can really kind of mix up what you're seeing, especially if you're attacking them non-linearly. Now, in a level, you need to beat a level, and beating a level is going to have a specific objective or trigger, which can vary. Most of them are going to have something like save all the hostages or kill all the enemies, but once you get to higher level chapters, it might be like neutralize the threat, which could be a lot of different things. And when you achieve that objective or do all the things, you'll finish, and then you'll see kind of like an arcade evaluation screen that'll tell you like how long it took, your bullet accuracy, how many hostages you saved, if there were hostages. It doesn't give you like a letter grade. It gives you a number of stars up to 3. And this is mainly going to predicate, especially levels that have hostages, on whether you saved all of the hostages and didn't kill any of them or have them get killed by enemies. If you're a completionist, one of the things that really drew me is I wanted to get all the stars in a level before I moved on to the next one. So if you have OCD or if you're completionist like that, you will probably have that same mindset. Aside from getting stars, you also get experience, and that'll be sort of character related, and your character will have a specific meter with a max for experience for them to level up, and then you'll get a point when they level up, and you'll use that as sort of like an upgrade thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And you will have squad members that you can choose to play with at any time. The stars are going to be used to unlock different gear or weapons for them. Unlocking new squad members may happen automatically by beating levels. It might be star related, it might be experience related, but you're using the stars to unlock different gear. You're using experience points to upgrade your character or your team as a whole in terms of skills. I pretty quickly got to the point where I have like 6 or 7 squad members. I think that's all of the main ones. There might be some secret ones, but I got there pretty fast, probably like somewhere in the second chapter, because I was just taking my time beating all the levels. Pretty quickly I got access to all the different characters, and they do have some variation. Now, once you're in a level, let's talk about just some of the basics that you're going to come across. So it is a 2D game, it's 2D side-scrolling, and there is platforming. So you're going to be moving your character left to right. You're only going to move at one speed, but depending on what squad member you are, what character you are, that speed can vary. You can crouch just by pressing down, and this might not seem like a big deal, but there will be items that are kind of glowing in the scenery as sort of like a block or a shield. So if you crouch behind one of them between you and the enemy, it can block some of their fire. You can jump. There is a jump. It's pretty short. It's not that high, but you'll be using it to jump like small jumps, to go up different places, maybe to jump and grab a ladder. And you're going to have certain areas where you can jump down through, whether it's where there's a ladder or other, visual circumstances where you can just jump down through something. You'll come across those. But the platforming in general, it's pretty limited. Like I said, there are ladders. that you're jumping up, some boxes. Sometimes there might be windows that you can jump down through, jump across through, but it's definitely not like a quick platformer. You'll also interact with things when a prompt comes up. This is primarily pressing up on the joystick, and this will be to open doors, maybe to go in stairs that go up one level. It might be to hit switches. It might be to pick up things, disarm things. Sometimes you will have to hold this, whether it's to disarm something or whether it's if it's a door that needs to be kicked down or unlocked. You'll see this as soon as you do it. When you hit up, it'll like pop up a meter right there, and that's just trying to tell you, hey, you need to hold this. Or with certain doors, you might need to like actually hit up like 3 or 4 times, and that's like you kicking down the door. And you'll also use this to rescue hostages. So once you come up to them, they'll be sitting on the ground, sort of with their hands tied behind their back, and the prompt will come up that says joystick up, and you'll automatically release them, and then they kind of run back and forth for like a couple seconds and then disappear. So let's talk about combat, because it's not just going to be you running into a building rescuing people. There are going to be enemies that you're going to have to interact with. So let's just talk basics for combat. So your character will have a gun, and you can hold it, and it'll do rapid fire, or if it's a pistol, it'll kind of fire back to back. And then you'll also be able to see the clip size at the top, and when it gets low, you'll want to reload, so there's a button to reload. Just an FYI, if you're going to reload, make sure you know what's around you, because a lot of times, like, I went to reload and then an enemy came up to me, and one thing that's interesting about the reload mechanic is you have to let it happen, and it takes like maybe 2 seconds or so. So if you hit reload and then somebody comes after you and then you interrupt it with like another command or doing something else besides moving, it won't reload. And so there were many times where like I thought I had hit reload, but then I went to do something else and it kind of interrupted the reload. So if you interrupt it, it won't do it. So you have to wait like 2 seconds, and visually you'll see a cue because the clip will refill, and also you can watch the character do it. But just be aware of that. Like, you'll look at the clip size if it goes down. If it's like all the way down or near the end, it'll show you the button. It's circle on PlayStation, kind of telling you like, hey, you need to reload. But I got into the habit of just like, if I shot a little and no one was around, I just hit reload just so I didn't have to worry about it. Your guns will have varying accuracy, especially with distance, whether it's a pistol or an automatic gun. Like if you're far away from an enemy, the accuracy is going to go down. Like you'll see the bullets kind of project diagonally, like above or below the enemy. But if you're really close to them, a lot of those bullets are more likely to hit the enemies. But of course, you're going to be more susceptible to getting shot yourself. Your character will have a special ability. I think this is linked to the character and not the gun, but it might vary. I don't know. I would say most of them are linked to the character. Like, for example, the guy who is like has the big shield, like he's the battering ram. Like his special ability is to just slam his shield forward, and he can break through doors pretty easily. He can stun people, but then other characters will have different abilities. And these will have a short refresh, like one of the icons up at the top left will have the picture and it's lit. And then when you do it, it'll drain and then it'll refresh. Most of these abilities refresh like in a second. And if you're not that character who has the shield, you will also have a melee kick that any character pretty much will be able to do. So if you're close to an enemy, you can kick them. It'll push them back a little bit. I think it does damage, but you don't really see a damage meter for enemies. It will stun the enemy for a second, so that's always really good, especially if you need to like reload or something. You might have that extra second to just kick them, stun them, push them away, and you'll see the stars kind of going around their head, and then you'll have time to gather yourself. Or if there's an enemy on the other side that you want to deal with first, it just allows for some versatility to catch your breath. And so let's talk about the enemies that you come across. So as soon as they see you and their range of sight can vary, they're going to get aggroed, and you'll see an exclamation point pop up above them, and they're going to run towards you. And then they might stop if they're sort of long-range shooters. But sometimes also if they don't see you and you're shooting in the same room, they can hear you and they'll come to you. You'll get used to pretty quickly how they get aggroed. What is nice, though, is they won't get aggroed through a door. So the doors that you see are really sectioning off the rooms, but they're also like funneling the enemies for you. So you don't have to worry if like there's an enemy behind a door or there's 3 enemies behind a door. Like you can choose when to go in the room and then they'll get aggroed. Sometimes if a room is really long though, you don't know how far the room goes and you don't even know if the door at the end of that room is open. So sometimes you have to kind of tread carefully because the screen is only so long and you might have a long room and all of a sudden you're walking and you're like, oh, no one's here. Let me reload. And then like 3 enemies just start running at you and shooting at you. And of course, you're going to have different kinds of enemies. You're going to have ones that primarily do melee, like they'll run up to you and slice you with a knife. You'll have a varying amount of shooters as well as suicide bombers. The suicide bombers scare the crap out of me because they run up to you and they're making this noise, but they have like clearly a vest on that has bombs on it. As soon as they get close to you, they'll explode, and every time it will completely kill you. Doesn't matter how your max health is. So you definitely want to make sure that they're taken care of from afar. All of them run fast, which can be tough. So the melee and the suicide bombers, like you want to take care of them because they're coming right up to you. But the shooters will run fast, and what weapons the shooters have will vary. So some of them will have pistols, some of them will have Uzis that shoot super rapid fire. Some of them will have shotguns. You don't want to get too close to them. So you're going to have a pretty strong variance of the type of enemies that you come across. Once you start to get used to them, like you'll see them and their form factor will be the same throughout most of the levels. So once you see them, you'll be like, oh, I know that guy. Like, you know, I can run back a little bit and his gun, if it's a shotgun, it might not reach me. Like I'll be able to reload a little bit and then go take care of him. They're also going to have a varied amount of health. This can vary, I guess, based on the enemies, but also based on the strength of your gun. It's not, real crazy statistical. Again, it's not like you see their health bar, but I would just say in general, different enemies take a different amount of shots, as well as do different damage to you. Again, we talked about the guy with the shotgun, the guy with the Uzi, the guy with the pistol. There's multiple melee guys, so there's like a regular melee guy with a knife, and then there's another one with like a machete. That guy definitely does more damage when he hits you. And you just want to be aware of the room encounter combo. So we talked about the idea of there being doors, funneling enemies. Once you get in rooms, again, it's not just going to be like, oh, this is a room of all melee enemies. It's going to be like, no, there's a melee enemy and then a bomber and then shooters behind them. And so you really need to recognize like who's a priority. Obviously, the ones that are running closest to you, maybe you want to shoot them first. You definitely want to kill that bomber, but you don't want to get too close running towards them because maybe the shooters will be more in range and then they're really going to unload on you. What's nice is you can dictate when you go into rooms, and they will be patrolling back and forth. Only a couple enemies will be standing still. I think the guy with the shotgun stands still, but most of them will be patrolling back and forth in the room. So you might want to wait until you see that like either the bomb guy is far away or the bomb guy is very close, so you can actually shoot and kill him first before he aggroes and runs towards you. Sometimes you'll go in rooms that'll have spawn doors that are like flat against the wall, and sometimes they won't open until you're at specific points in the room. And so that can be a little crazy, especially because sometimes they will, like one will open up and then one enemy will come, and then the other one might open up on the other side of the room. And then when you go there, all of a sudden that first door will open up. So you'll get used to the cadence as you play through these levels and how they try to get you. But a lot of times you're going to have multiple spawn doors in one room. And if you're in the center of it, it might make it so that both spawn doors are kind of going at the same time. So you might have to manage your right and your left with your gun at the same time. And some advanced things that you'll come across. So obviously you have platforming, obviously you have combat, but you are going to have scenarios where you might have a door that needs a key card. So you need to go to one end of the level, get the key card, go back to the door, open it. You're going to have a lot of scenarios, especially in like chapter 2 and beyond, where the lights are out in the room, or at least you can't see in. So in the first chapter, I would say most of the levels, like you come up to a door and like you can see it, like a cross-sectional of the whole game, like of the whole level, as far as you can see. And you can see into those rooms. But as you get further on, like you'll see darkness in the room. So you might have to open the door and just react immediately to what you see. And then you'll also have like glass windows that you can shoot through and potentially jump through. Sometimes there'll be glass on a ceiling of a room and you can like come at it like Batman, drop down. They'll have like multiple glass windows so you can choose which one to drop down. If enemies are right in front of the door when you open it or kick it down, it can stun enemies. So again, be mindful of that alongside like picking the best time to go in with where they are in their patrol. You might want to wait until they get close to the door. Some of the doors that take multiple hits to knock down will actually attract enemies to it. Like they'll have a question mark up, like you made a sound and all of a sudden they're like checking it out, but they won't come through the door. So you might want to wait until there's like no health left on the door meter to do the last kick for when they're right in front of the door, because all of a sudden you can stun 3 enemies, shoot them all down, and then deal with whatever is behind them. And of course, you're going to need to rescue the hostages. Now, what's tricky is that the hostages are bound and they're on the floor, so they're a little lower. But we talked about the accuracy of your weapons. If you're shooting like a rapid fire gun, like not all the bullets are traveling straight at like eye level or head level or whatever. So you can actually hit the hostages, and if you hit them enough, they will die. Now, that still counts as you like taking care of one in terms of beating the level or completing the task, but that will be a hostage that you didn't rescue. So you won't get all the stars if you're killing your hostages, but you will still beat the level. They can take a couple hits before they die. So if you hit them with one bullet, I think the screen might actually flash like red real quick just to let you know like you got hit or you hit a hostage, but just try not to shoot them. And let's talk about your characters, because this is where some of the advanced stuff in terms of what you can do besides shoot will really come into play. So at the beginning of choosing the level, once you decide which level you're going to do, you'll then be able to choose which of your characters you're going to put in the level. And these are going to vary in terms of their base health and armor. So every character is going to have health and armor. They're going to have varied gun types. Like we said, some of your characters will have pistols, some will have automatic things or shotguns, some will have varying walking speed, as well as different abilities. So for example, like I said, the guy with the shield, like if you crouch down, you're going to take a lot less damage. The FBI agent, if you crouch down, she actually does like a roll, and I think you can roll through enemies. I didn't play her for that long, but that seems to be, I think, one of the tougher characters to choose because she has a lot less armor. And there's one who, instead of hitting doors, will actually be a lock picker. And after you pick your character, you're going to see all of their different things that they have, like their weapon. There is 2 slots for different gear. Some characters will have automatic gear, but a lot of them you're going to need to unlock by using the different stars that you get from beating the levels and rescuing all the hostages. And there's like a bunch of different gears that you can unlock for different prices of stars. And these are going to be sometimes like different armors that will provide more armor for your character, whether against melee or bullets. And then the other sort of class that you'll pick from in your other slot is going to be different types of throwables or grenades. Some of these will be like flashbang grenades, some of these will be smoke grenades, and these are going to definitely play a role in strategy. I really used a lot of the flashbang grenades when I first started playing, just because like you throw it and then it stuns any enemy that's within that room or within sight of the flashbang. And then so that will really allow you to take down enemies, especially if you got like a bomber in there and you don't know how to deal with him and he keeps running and killing you. Like using a flashbang grenade or using a smoke grenade so they can't see you can really sort of boost your ability to beat that level. And the thing about a lot of these throwables is that they will actually have a certain number of them. So for something like the flashbang grenades, like you only get 3 for a level. So you want to maybe be wise about using those. And the thing about the gear is that you'll unlock it for most of your characters. Like a lot of them can use a lot of the same gear, whether it's armor or whether it's grenades. But some of them will have access to specialty ones that you can unlock. Like I said, the guy who's the lockpicker, like one of his gears is being able to use these items that will allow you to either look in a room or specially target everyone in the room and do more damage when you attack them. When you get to the different weapons that you can use, these are going to be shared sometimes. So like certain characters will use pistols, certain characters will use rifles or shotguns or machine guns, but you can unlock different variations of them, and each weapon will have 4 stats. It'll have damage, accuracy, rate of fire, and reload. So you want to unlock higher level weapons. So if you're using like the FBI agent, like she uses a pistol, but you can unlock higher level weapons that'll have like, do more damage or be more accurate or shoot at a higher rate. Your character will also have like a skill tree, and this is from getting XP and leveling your character up. So each of the characters is going to have a meter, and it'll say like 0 out of 300. So that just means you need 300 to get to the next level. And what's nice is you're going to get experience for your character every time you play a level. Even if you die in the level, you'll still get some experience. So that is really kind of rewarding you trying these different levels and not trying to say like, oh, you have to beat it the first time to get the level up or the experience. But your skill tree are just going to be kind of these tiered meters. And what's nice is each of the characters will have like 3 or 4 aspects that you can level up, but then you have your team aspects that you can level up, and that's going to apply to all of your team. And I think those are like 2 different categories. It's like your max health or something else. But you can gradually upgrade those team stats and put your experience points towards it just to upgrade any character that you have. So that's something that is really going to help you progress through the game, like upgrading your max health for all of your characters. Some other things that you might upgrade are like the number of gear consumables. I think at one point you can upgrade the clip size of the weapon regardless of who's using it or what weapon it is. So there's a lot of intricate stuff with just upgrading, just as you look at the tree. And each character will have access to choosing a special move. And this could vary from like calling in a special weapon that your character can use with limited ammo. It could be calling in snipers that can eliminate any 3 enemies that you can see on the screen. This is going to refer to the action bar. And this special move is going to be the highest action bar item. So once you accrue a certain number of the action bar spaces, which we'll talk about in a second, this is like the highest one. So let's talk about the action bar. So in the top left corner, there is like this long meter that has sections. And when you get past a certain number of the sections, there's an icon below it that allows you to use whatever that thing is. And you're going to fill this up by killing enemies and by saving hostages. And anytime it's past an icon, that means that at any time you can use that. And it'll consume it, so it'll have the meter go down if you use it. But the things that are on the action bar are like refill your armor, refill your consumable gear, get a med kit and be able to use it, get an extra life for your character, and then finally use your special move like we talked about. Depending on how many of the bars you have filled, like you can do multiple things back to back. So something that you'll constantly do is like refill your armor and get a med kit to refill your health. This is going to be very intuitive once you see it. And my advice with the action bar is to use the things on the action bar constantly. I sometimes didn't even notice it was there, especially in the beginning. But once I got the hang of using it and relying on it, it's really helpful, especially because once it's full, you can't keep gaining more. So if it's full, you might as well just use it, especially if you still have enemies to kill or hostages to save, because you're just going to recharge it. I tended to use more of the health or the armor refill, but in different scenarios, you might use it to get more flashbang grenades. Certainly, if you have it past extra life, that's something that if you have full health, you might as well throw the extra life on it, because if you die and you have the extra life on your character, they'll respawn and you won't die and redo the level. And finally, just in terms of pacing and accessibility, I feel like the first 2 chapters, pretty standard. I got through them pretty quickly. Once I got to the 3rd chapter, I really started to die a lot more and the levels started to be longer. But what's really nice is it's a quick restart. It reminds you a lot of Katana Zero, Hotline Miami. It gets a little tough because when the levels get longer and you die, you're like, oh, I have to go all the way back to the beginning, especially if you're a completionist and you want to save all the hostages. There were times where I accidentally killed a hostage and I just restarted the level, but those are the breaks if you're OCD like that. The different character types, when you're choosing them, actually have listed difficulty. So I think like the FBI agent is really tough because she has very low armor, but she can roll through enemies. So it's like more challenging and you have to be more adept and more quick, but it can be a nice challenge. What's really nice though is with the different character types and all the different other stuff, you can really play your way. You can actually use one character the whole game. I did that for like the first 6 levels, and then I was like, all right, let me try out some of these other guys. And it really changed up the strategy, and I liked trying different things just to see what the different characters were about, because it really exposes a lot of the depth of the game. I also like the aspect of it being an open sandbox of levels. Like once you unlock a chapter, you can choose different levels. You can go back to older chapters. You can really play at your pace. You don't have to play it linearly, level to level in that order, although that's how I did it. And then, of course, access to a lot of the other modes. We talked about the unlimited mode, the zombie mode. There's really a lot of content in this game. You can play it as you see fit. There are secrets in the game. Like you can find these donuts, which are kind of like secret packages or hidden packages from Grand Theft Auto 3. I think this unlocks a lot of different things, maybe even extra characters that aren't listed. And one of the dopest things that I saw that I haven't taken part of is this game is 2-player. So you can play couch co-op. Like when you go to select a mission, it'll allow you to like lock in 2 members. Like you can have another controller and be player 2. So I feel like that's super cool. And then there's an online multiplayer. I think it's to do co-op in the missions, but I don't know because I haven't tried that. So that could be really extensive. I don't know if it's like PvP, but I think just providing so many options and ways to play this game is really where it shines. All right, let's talk about the vibe of Door Kicker's Action Squad. And let's start with just themes and setting. So this is a SWAT game, and it's SWAT meets like 80s cop movies, especially with some of the characters that you're picking. So we talked about like the FBI agent, the recon guy. There's an off-duty cop who is like is right out of a movie, both visually and audio. Just the idea of what you are, like your squad, and the idea of it being fast-paced shooting and death. It's so Hotline Miami. It's so Katana Zero. Going through levels quickly, enemies running at you quickly. Quickly, you will lose your health and die, even though you have a lot of it. Like if you just sit there, like you will die and you will have to restart the level. You know, SWAT team running in, rescuing hostages, taking down gangs. A lot of these levels are randomly in office buildings. I don't know if it's like, you know, they just got in and are holding up the office building, but it's strange, the settings at times. You'll be doing a lot of other SWAT things. Like I said, diffusing threats. You'll be diffusing bombs at certain levels. And just something about the menus and the different characters. It's very Chroma Squad because I feel like it's spoofing a lot of things. It's a lot of satire and caricatures. I mean, I am surprised that like there isn't more connection to like Lethal Weapon or Die Hard. Like it is playing off 80s, 90s cop movies, especially when it comes to the audio, because each of these characters will have voices and one-liners that'll sound like they're over the radio. Like the recon guy, when he's like going up to a door, he'll say like unlocking, or the off-duty cop, whenever you select him, he says, I'm off duty. It's so funny. Like it had me laughing, even though he says the same line. I think they say a line when you select them and a line when you start the level. So it's just so funny hearing it because it's so satirical. It's such a spoof and it's trying to be just so over the top. The enemies will also yell when they're around you, especially the suicide bomber. Oh my gosh. Like I'll have nightmares of this guy just be like, oh, get out of the way, I'm coming for you, or something like that. I don't know what he says, but he does it in a high-pitched voice. It's just so intense because he's running at you, and you know if he gets too close, he's going to explode you and you're dead. The music in this game is so good. Again, 80s cop movie crossed with like an 80s workout montage. Like it's got that techno from like Narita Boy and Hotline Miami. A lot of inspiration from that. Crossed with like what's going on in Saturday Morning RPG, like the 80s cartoon, like the heavy rock guitar. There are songs that are clearly a mashup from like Beverly Hills Cop, and you can hear it in it, but a lot of that synth combo, similar to what you might hear in like Into the Breach. So a lot of these games that have great soundtracks, it really emulates that and just pulls together that vibe with the 80s sort of retro cop, you know, SWAT team, all that kind of caricature there. And then finally, in terms of visuals, it's heavily pixelated, so a lot of pixels. Reminds me a lot of like Dark Side Detective or Pepper Grinder or Shogun Showdown, like super pixelated, but still a lot of detail, especially with the characters. A lot of discernible features like their accessories, like the FBI agent has sunglasses on. The off-duty cop, he's holding like this automatic rifle, and then he's got like, I guess he just got out of bed like to come, because he's got like these polka dot shorts. I guess they're like his sleep boxers or something like that. But just silliness, over the top, absurd stuff. Again, caricature. The environments, again, like you're in these buildings. I don't know what these gangs are holding up, but it just seems like office buildings, like you see door to door. It almost reminds me of like Sim Tower, because you're seeing like a cross section of the building. Like you can see where one room starts, one room ends, room, door. And then just being in the offices, you have doors, you have stairs, ladders, elevators. All of that is very easy to see and easy to discern. And you'll get the hang of like, oh, this elevator, where's it going to go? Well, you see an elevator right above it. So, it's just going to put you up one floor, especially when you're trying to leave a level or go back to like the beginning. A lot of times there's like a specific path you have to go, but knowing where their stairs are going to go just by seeing the floor above and the floor below, you'll get used to sort of the trajectory of how that goes. And then finally, in terms of indicators visually, we said you can crouch and certain objects will be highlighted so that you can be behind them and get up and shoot. These are pretty obvious, like you'll see them in a slow glow, like the area around them. The prompt coming up to interact with different things, like it took me like a couple seconds to realize it was trying to get me to press up on the joystick. But once you get used to that, when that pops up, it really is helpful to know like what I'm hitting, like if it's in front of like a switch or a door. Like you do get used to what it is trying to tell you to do. The bars in the top left, the ammo, when your clip runs low, when your health is low, when your armor's low, it's really good color contrast, because like your health is red. I think the clip is like little orange dots, and then your armor's blue. So that's really trying to keep it in your field of vision, as well as when you aggro enemies, whether it's an exclamation point or a question mark, if you're like banging on the door, just to know when they see you or when they acknowledge something, can really be a good visual tell. All right, let's wrap up the conversation about Door Kickers Action Squad. So this is a sick game. I really enjoyed my time with this game. I will definitely keep peppering through it. It's really great for pick up and play. Definitely a lot of vibes of Hotline Miami, Katana Zero, without the linear story. So it's like you're still getting those enemy encounters in like short limited spurts in sectioned off levels, but it's still that same like high paced, high stress, like, oh, an enemy's coming towards me, I have to react. And of course dying and then being, restarting the level pretty quickly. And a lot of heavy spoofing, caricatures, 80s cop movie, montage. It really brings a lot of charm. I smiled so much playing this game, and I continue to, even when it's the same thing, like the off-duty cop, I'm off duty. It's just like something that's happening. It's not like the focus, but I'm just like, God damn, like you got me. I'm off duty. And you're not committed as you're playing this game. It's a sandbox of levels. You can upgrade different things. You can find the challenge when you want it. Like you can go to some of the higher chapters and know that like, oh, these levels are going to be really tough or really long. So really kind of challenge yourself logically, platform, combat, whatever you want. And there's a lot of content in this game. Like I said, there are, I think maybe 7 or 8 chapters. There's extra modes. You can play 2-player, couch co-op, or online. Like there's just so much built into this game. In terms of value, I feel like 15 for an MSRP isn't bad. I feel like most people, when they see this, won't want to pay that. I think that's fine if people feel that way. I think if it's under 10 on sale, that's ideal. I got it for $1.50. That's an insane steal and a no-brainer for me. If you see it on sale like that again, just jump on it. It's something that you're gonna want to just dive into, have a smile, have a laugh, play some of these challenging levels, and really get into the vibe of it. I think if you are a Hotline Miami fan, you should jump on this game. If you're a fan of any kind of 80s movies, music, you will love this game. But all around, this game is charming, it's satisfying, and has a deep well of content. And so I do highly recommend this game. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Stay tuned for our next episode to see what new game we found for you.